Diene, welcome to Uncovering Hope. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Veronica. It's a pleasure to be here.
You were born in Guinea and you grew up in Italy. And later on, you lived across more than 15 countries, from Germany to Ethiopia, Haiti.
Absolutely.
You later returned to Guinea and even built a school and a small health facility in your village. But when I was doing my research about you, I came across a quite unexpected story which caught my attention, which is that you brought capoeira, a sport that mixes martial arts and dance,
Absolutely.
to work with kids on the street and teach and open conversations about reproductive health, rights, and their futures. I'm curious, what led you to do that? And looking back at your early beginnings, was there an experience that shaped how you understand what it takes to reach people in ways that truly matter?
Thank you, Veronica, for that question. I was not expecting that. But yes, I believe in capoeira because it's an incredible human normal activity that actually comes from Africa, who went all the way to Brazil and came back in another form. So combining martial arts and well-being of young people. And and we are doing that with young people on the street, living on the street. So how you take young people out of the street? How do you make them focus? So you need to first canalize their energy, so much energy. And capoeira is exactly that. They can spend dancing and art martial together, so focusing on what matters most. While they do that, you give them service on more to learn what hygiene is, to give them food for them, for the right nutrition, and to teach them the basic of what the young girl or young boy needs to grow up safely. That can go for sexual reproductive health services, to access all those things that they cannot in normal life, and a bit of education. Why I did that? I always say I'm of the country of the black child. The Black Child is a novel from a very famous person named Camaralai. And he grew up in the little artisan shop of his dad. Looking the world through the eyes of a child in that environment. And you can learn so much just watching what is happening around you. So for me, having the chance of working for UNFPA, being in a big country, I was in DR Congo, and having good friends who are doing things from all over the place of the world, like Brazilian ambassador, like the Princess of Monaco. And we sat together, what can we do to make a difference? How to teach young people. So that's what we started, that capoeira thing. So, giving them that energy, getting diploma, it changed simply their lives. They know more about today. Some of them are just, young leaders, very dynamic, doing other things, teaching other things around the world. So it's a good example how you can take culture, and you can take culture and build into people's life to help them improve their daily being.
So really resonating on the terms that they can understand themselves.
Exactly,
right.
Exactly.
And I know you're a mother as well.
Absolutely.
Was there something that you passed on, maybe some of the dancing onto your own son?
My son, before I discovered capoeira, my son was doing karate already, because I truly believe in martial art. It educates you. And so for that, capoeira, I went it to myself because I'm the one loving dancing. He continued on very classic karate classes all the way to the end. But I think it's really a good way to know about discipline and about your own culture and about how, because I think young people, what they need, and all of us actually, is to express the energy. We are so full of energy. And today's world, everything that is happening, if you don't spend that out, what do you do?
It's very fascinating you say it. My next question, I wanted to start with saying that sexual and reproductive health and rights, it's a very serious topic. It sits at the intersection of biology, political economy, also power. Now we see this context and this expression of one's humanity. Essentially these sexual and reproductive health and rights, they shape if a person can decide when and whether to have children, if somebody's body becomes a site of violence and coercion. if they survive childbirth, if they so choose to have children. It's a very serious topic, and I would say that building on this understanding of oneself, it's part of the human rights, it's part of the human agency that we see in ourselves. And you've been meeting women and girls from around the world in many contexts, and oftentimes in places marked by conflict and with fragile systems. Could you take us to a moment that you witnessed where you really understood what is at stake when systems protect someone or fail them?
That's a big question. And you know, I like the way you ended it, because sexual right and reproductive health are so big into everyone's life, you know, and it's becoming a political subject when it's just a human subject and human history for men and for women, for everyone that exists on this planet. I have seen sad stories where you have a young girl, a 13-year-old, who got married very young, and then got married something, then got pregnant. And she was too small, teeny tiny body, who cannot deliver a baby. So what do? She suffers while trying to deliver that baby. And then she suffers so much that she's hurt. So that's what we call obstetric fistulas. So the baby comes out, but she's destroyed by herself already. You know, when the baby comes out, sometimes more often the baby dies because he suffered too much. And the lady herself, if she's not dead, then she becomes armed for life. And since now she has problem, she's rejected by the society. So that's where UNFPA come and try to recruit through civil society, local NGOs, international NGOs, to recruit those kind of young girls, to take them so that we can offer them surgeries. Those are very complex surgeries, but you need to have good nutrition, you need to be in good health to be taken important surgery like that. And it takes time. So when it's done, when they come back to life, that is a hope, that is a smile you want to see, because it's nothing else than a smile on the, on the face of a young woman has just recovered what she is. This is one aspect that, can give hope. But what we are living every day is that conflict, in the conflict zone, where not only women, adolescents, sometimes men can be raped. Women have hard time giving birth. It's difficult sometimes to find a safe space to give birth lightly. You mentioned our mandate so beautifully, So for us, the fight we are really making around the world to make sure no woman die while giving birth. It's so important. Why a child will come onto this planet while the mom is gone? What legacy do we leave to that child, So big stories are everywhere. And in today's politicalized world, it saddened me, truly, because we don't do politics. Saving people's life, sexual, reproductive life. Sex has nothing offensive, if I may say that respectfully. Sex has nothing offensive.
It's part of life.
It's part of who we are. And if we don't have wellness built into all that bodily autonomy, we cannot reach any of the work we do on the SDGs. Inequality, the first one, fight against poverty. You need to be in good health first. You need to be in control, have the agency, you mentioned it so well, to be able to do anything. So it's being politicized, and that's really saddened me, because that shouldn't be. This is where we need everyone, faith-based organization, religious leader, political leaders, to stand out for every woman, every girl. And they should stand for their women first and for their own girls. Everyone has a family somewhere, and for the young people. And that's really, that's the plea I'm making, to take the political out of people's life. This is not about politics. That's not something we should be doing. What we should be doing, that is to put the sexual reproductive health and right at the center exactly of everyone being. Because when you have that agency, you have the wellness you need, you can be empowered economically, you can be empowered socially. But if that don't exist, you can't. Your mentality is somewhere else.
You're stuck in
a limbo zone where you cannot be who you aspire to be. You cannot live your true potential because you have issues nobody wants to talk about.
Why do you think that is?
What I think that I'm happy to be a humanitarian, so I don't think much of what people think, because otherwise I'll not be doing my job. You see? But what I know is if every subject matters today is a reason to play politics, I would beg that we take sexual reproductive health and right out of it. For women, adolescents, men to be able to live their life in a life cycle, because it's not about young people either. It's really about the life cycle approach, because older senior people as well need all those services today. And if we don't do the image we're giving, let's say for the northern part of the world, we tend to forget that our mandate covers the world. The fertility issue will not be solved because young people seeing everything that is happening today say, why would I have more children if that's the way they treat those who are out there already?
Yeah.
You see? So people look to see, what do I want to give more children in this world? So the fertility crisis that is happening today, all the bulge of young people without, who are trying to migrate, everything is related. So that wellness, that SRHR, that maternal health, that human being wellness needs to be really central to whatever we do.
So how do you think we can cut through this? I don't want to be cynical, but there seems to be a little bit of some distraction and maybe apathy in some parts of the world. And then, as you said, these conversations become rather political rather than being about the human agency and life choices and the whole population-wide approach to solving these issues, making everyone care. So what do you think would be crucial to maybe talk a bit more about, destigmatize, to cut through that noise and apathy?
I think that's the right question. First, we need to make sure that we use a language that everybody can understand. Sometimes we talk to each other with acronym SRHR, we talk to each other, which is not working. We need to explain what is behind it, because what I'm not saying, technology is very high everywhere today. And with artificial intelligence, you can see the good and the bad at the same time. So we need to make sure that we educate people in the way we explain the importance of what we do for everyone. I think that is, for me, probably the most important thing. And the second important thing into this as well, not to explain how it works. If you have a teenager with a pregnancy, it costs so much to the society, because the first thing, they kick her out of school.
You need a support system.
You have a support system that goes with it, or any investment, let's say in family planning, has proven to be, to provide back $8. Any $1 invested provide back $8, because then the system is working, the social protection is working, the school system is working. But so that's the thing, that's the waste of resources. And this sector is not just a health sector. That's the thing. So it's not only the health sector. So we need to explain to all other environment, the justice, the public sector, the policies, the economists, what it is about, so that they can incorporate the education sector. It's not about health only. So, it's so big and so grand, so central to everything that is being done in the research of sustainable development goals, that we need to be better at explaining. So that's what we are going to focus on as well, not to assume that everybody knows what it means, not to assume that everybody understands our own jargon, but it's really that about people's life, making people getting the service and information they need so that they can select the kind of life they want to live, in respect of their culture. It's not about disrupting, just ensuring people can live their best potential in their own environment, respectful of their own environment.
And you mentioned that you, and I know UNFPA works a lot with religious leaders, community leaders, not only governments, although
No.
that's obviously a big part of your job as well, but also youth movements.
Absolutely.
Absolutely essential. It's all about young people's potential. I'm curious, is there a story, like some kind of collaboration these days that's happening that UNFPA is part of that you're particularly excited about, and why is that?
Well, you know, I love to work with young people for something. I always say to young people, please stop saying no. I don't want this, I don't want that. What do you want? It's just like they said, oh, I want to go to school. I want to have the liberty to choose the kind of school I want. I want to have the choice to stay at home, etc. So I think for us, what is important for the agency of each individual, what we do at UNFPA is to reinforce that, making sure that young people can fulfill their potential. So we give them the floor, we give them the space more than ever. So in their own language, you know, they can explain what are their needs. And their needs are so immense depending where they come from.
So what does that look like?
Look, let me tell you something. I was sitting in Central Asia with young people, and one young woman said to me, you know, this Gen Z thing is nice, but we are not Gen Zs. Like, I said, why you're not Gen Z? No, not like the American or the European ones. I said, you're still Gen Z. So what the issue you have? No, because the way they see things, we see it differently. I said, you're still Gen Z. It means simply within your own environment here, you see things differently and you want that to be respected. She was about cultural way of applying that religious movement environment she was in. I said, you apply the way you want. That's why for us, working with local leaders, community leaders, and working with faith-based leaders are very, very important, whether they are Christian, Muslim, Jew,
they're
whatever.
able to localize for the youth?
Not only that, but it allows us mainly to make sure we are not disrupting anything in people's environment. You see what, because if it's not about trying to have a standardized culture approach, no, it doesn't exist that. Everyone sees from his standpoint how the work is going. What we want is to have a standardized, a healthy way of seeing it from your standpoint. You know, so that's what community leaders are important. That's why we work with young youth association everywhere. They go to the last mile. And sometimes when we say youth association, it's not only about, you know, delivering service, but they are such a great relay for what we do. They say in their word things that I can't say better. So that's why whether they are on TikTok or they are on Instagram or they are simply in their community listening to radio or sending WhatsApp, it's all young people everywhere. They matter. They matter. Future generation, they matter. As much as aging people, how do we involve all of them together to have a better society? And this incredible climate we are today, and to keep hope, we need the young people to be at the forefront of what they do.
And in this climate, obviously the big elephant in the room is also the whole kind of financial landscape. And I know that it takes a lot of resources, I imagine, to have this local approach and to work with these leaders and provide them with the support that they need in that given environment, whether it's capoeira or not. So I'm curious to bring in a question from our last episode where actually Jorge Moreira da Silva, he asked, or for the next guest, he passed on a question of how can the UN80 reform be a real trigger to get the UN to deliver more, not to do less, but to deliver more at scale. And I know, of course, that's a big financial question as well, but in any terms, political, financial, or otherwise, from your perspective, how do you see that reform evolving and what would give you most hope in that context?
You know, I think the UN is at 80. We are 80 years old. So first, we should be grateful for everything that we have accomplished together, that member states have accomplished, that the staff around the world have accomplished. You know, today we have maternal mortality decreased by 40%. This is incredible. So in that kind of, you know, only on that figure, if working together differently, streamlining our function can make us work better, fantastic. If it can make us save money, even better. But what I'm sure of, the UN80 will get out there stronger, bigger. We are needed as a community, as multilateral community, more than ever. What we achieve on the last mile, nobody can. I've been to places people don't know if they exist on this planet, and there are women there are men there. So if the UNFPA can take that work forward, and we are all fighting, working hard for that, and that's what we want, all of us, to make it better for the humanity. But our work is essential, whether it is about capoeira to save one boy's life, or it is on the mountain of Mutupeke in the middle of really nowhere and saving a woman from gender-based violence because she doesn't even know how to do anymore. We are there. We are there on the last mile saving that life. And I have no doubt that the UNFPA process will get there. We need just, while we get there, we work together to have a more efficient UN, is to keep on working, to keep on being focused on the mandate and delivering. Because at the end of the day, we have taxpayer money that we need to deliver on. We have countries that believe in the mandate of the UN, and we need to deliver on. So we are front and center working to make a UN a better place for the humanity, and we are front and center to spending taxpayer money to prove that every dime we are investing in someone's life is worth spending.
Is there some experience from what you've seen in the women and girls, and not only women and girls, so men are part of these family and population planning conversations, of course, so fundamentally. Is there some kind of experience that reminds you what you just said of how real this is, that it's not just as institutions we say this, and of course we need to keep going, but is there some life that you're reminded of?
There are so many of them. There are so many. And let me take something very close to us since we are in Europe. Safe space for young people from Ukraine. How we all work together to make sure that those young people or women that are in a bordering country today keep their culture, keep their language, making sure that one day they return home, they'll have everything available in their cultural context while they are growing. 4 years is a lot. That's why I'm mentioning. You see, that's one example. Another example, take Sudan. Everything that is happening to Sudan today, knowing that we're able to reach out to those camps to give more shelter to women so that they can survive, they can give birth more safely. Those are the kind of things we do. Take others in other regions where we make sure that girls who did not go to school yet can learn, a job so that they can fulfill their potential and live a dignified life. I can go on and on. Take youth, peace and security. We only see the youth activists, but some of those youth, we give 38% of our resources to women and youth activists. Those people, they save lives. They have needs, and yet they're out of the forefront where, nobody is there talking to people in their local languages. Those are important people. Those are the things I have in my head every single day. That life pass. I've spent so much time on the ground, and my life was saved by normal people, by drivers. Nobody is more important than one other. And sometimes at the UN, I'm the Undersecretary General sitting here, but my driver is probably more important than I am, because he saved my life. He saved my son's life. You see what I mean? Everybody in the UN is important, from the security advisor. Nothing. When the driver said to you in the middle of desert, we need to go back, you have to listen, because if you're lost there, nothing, you'll not be saved. And that's the magic of the UN. We are incredible team out there and together. How many times I've used UNICEF car? How many times I've used UNHCR car? How many times I've shared my office, I've welcomed UN women. That's the real UN, and that UN is out there. That's why on the last UNGA, I went on the podium with the orange t-shirts, that we are not all wearing suits, but we are hardworking on the ground there. That's the UN I love. That's the UN we belong to, and that's UN is there, not waiting for anyone, doing the job. Heads up.
I think for those who are listening and can't see, I just see so much fire in your eyes when you speak about that drive to get things done. And I'm curious because on this podcast we're really interested in an exploration of hope, and this fire I see in your eyes is really also giving me hope that we can still influence things. Has the meaning of hope shifted for you over time? Does it mean something different than it meant when you were younger?
You know, working for the United Nations, since I started very young, is for me a privilege. It's truly a privilege. That hope has not changed nor shifted. And I don't think it will, because it's about passion. But I have a dream though, not hope. I believe in what we do. I believe that the political climate will change, will improve. I believe in the good in human. But I have a dream. I have a dream that the possibility is given with no politics inside, so people can enjoy their agency. That sexual and reproductive health and rights is not a taboo word. I'm a respectful mother and grandmother and a daughter and a sister, and that women and men and everyone on this planet can enjoy full life with service and dignity without being qualified of this or that. That's my dream. And I'm doing with my team everything on the ground, everywhere to fight for that on the name of the Secretary General.
I would like to pose you a final question before we wrap up, which is, what question about hope would you leave for our next guest?
My question is very simple. In today's world, as everything is politicized, I would like your next guest to tell me, or to tell you, Veronica, what he or she is going to do to ensure that SRHR is not lost in translation, that sexual health and reproductive right is not lost in translation, that they can all help out there and not be afraid of putting this into the agenda. What is going to be the little piece for that person? Not everything. I'm not asking the word, but the little piece that women, men, boys, girls, anyone out there is not forgotten, and that inclusiveness remain at the center of the agenda for all vulnerable people, for all disabled people out there.
Thank you so much, Diene. That's a very powerful question. Thank you so much for your time sharing with us here on this podcast. And thank you everyone for listening. My name is Veronica Wilhelm, and this is Uncovering Hope. See you next time.